celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Sontarans being introduced to Doctor Who, we've been given a quadrilogy of stories from Big Finish Productions, and we have the third one, Sontarans vs. Rootans, Born to Die, which features Colin Baker and India Fisher as the 6th Doctor and Charlie Pollard respectively. Now, you folks may recognise India Fisher, Charlie, as a companion of the 8th Doctor. Well, apparently there's some wibbly-wobbly web of time stuff, which means that after travelling with the 8th Doctor, she ends up travelling with the 6th Doctor while he's wearing this dapper blue uniform. We already have a Sontaran story of this quadrilogy featuring India Fisher. However, what's funny about Born to Die is that she needs to not show her power level to the 6th Doctor and pretend that she doesn't already know who the Sontarans are, which the Born to Die story gets some great mileage out of. But anyway, so Born to Die follows the 6th Doctor and Charlie on the planet Taxodon, where there are these invisible creatures, this invisible bird-like species that make the planet incredibly peaceful, and the Doctor and Charlie are there visiting the planet. However, the Sontarans are also there, and one of them was found dead on the planet under mysterious circumstances. However, because the Doctor and Charlie were next to the Sontaran when he died, that means that they are obviously accused of murder by the Sontaran generals there. We've got Christopher Ryan reprising his role from the revived series as a Sontaran commander. We also have John Coleshaw playing a Sontaran in this story as well. But let's play a clip from Sontarans vs. Rootans, Born to Die.
Should go. We don't want anyone finding us with a dead Sontaran.
Certainly not another Sontaran.
Halt! Oh, you had to say it, Jill.
Sorry.
Never tempt fate.
This is Field Major Trax. I have located our errant cadet. And 2 intruders.
Oh, we're not intruders. We were just passing through. We'll be going now.
Yes, goodbye.
I think not. You have killed a Sontaran. You must be executed immediately.
Oh, now listen here. We didn't do anything.
Activate weapons.
Just hold on a minute.
Listen to us.
Wait, there's something, some way out.
Take aim.
If only I could remember.
Fire on my command.
The Sunset Law.
The Sunset Law?
Yeah. According to the 5th decree of Scargill, anybody accused of killing a Sontaran is allotted time to prove their innocence.
Until sunset, presumably.
Yeah, correct. Under the old laws of Sontar, I demand you lower your weapons.
The Sunset Law is only applicable to Sontarans.
I don't believe it is. As I recall, the law says anybody. There's no mention of a specific species.
Then that is an oversight that must be corrected.
Still applies now, though, doesn't it?
Lower your weapons. How do you know old Sontar law?
Oh, I pick things up. You never know what you might discover from a little light reading. Now, could you take me to your superiors?
This way.
I love that music. I just had to include that little bit in the clip. Also, I'm reminded in this story of just how bloody good Christopher Ryan was in the Sontaran Stratagem in the Poison Sky, and also his brief cameo in the Pandorica Opens. Like, such a great authoritative performance and a terrific voice. But I did not realise until the behind-the-scenes special features that Christopher Ryan is massively putting on a voice for that role. I'll say it's from the behind-the-scenes. Oh, hi, Theo. Theo? Cat time. Are you here to listen to the Sontarans? Listen to Christopher Ryan's, like, normal voice.
Christopher Ryan playing Field Major Trax.
Face your death with honor, intruders!
I'm hoping that the Field Major has that military commanding aspect to him, and the others who are officers or the activated Sontarans who aren't really Sontarans. So yes, it's trying to find some sort of variation in each thing. It's difficult, but I hope it works out.
That's such a wild, like, performance. I had no idea that Christopher Ryan sounded like that normally, and he just puts on that really authoritative Sontaran voice. Hi, Theo. You here to check out the Sontaran story? You here for cat time? Oh, he's a good boy. Sontarans vs. Rutans: A Born to Die is kind of like a murder mystery story which features the Doctor and Charlie Pollard trying to figure out how this Sontaran in the middle of this forest with these invisible creatures died, but they did not die at the hands of the invisible creatures because they're a super peaceful primitive race who are wouldn't wish harm on anybody unless absolutely necessary. But the Sontarans are there doing their own sort of weird mining operation. They've got their clone vats there as well in order to try and gain a leverage over their never-ending war with the Sontarans and the Rutans. And what happens is that the Doctor is given until sunset to figure out what is killing these Sontarans, because there's multiple deaths happening here as well on the planet. But because they don't want the Doctor to just run away or betray them, they keep Charlie Pollard hostage, but decide that the Doctor still works better with a companion, so they give them a low-ranking Sontaran called Skoll, played by Dan Starkey, in order to help him out with his investigations. And it's kind of rare that we get a Sontaran with a full-blown arc over the course of the story, but Skoll gets one, and Dan Starkey does a really, really good job over the course of this story, as he's learning more about what is happening behind the scenes of this Sontaran command outpost, and the weird and the potential betrayal and civil war within the Sontarans that's brewing there. It's a really good narrative. The mystery itself, there's not too much to it, because you figure out kind of what's happening 30 or 40 minutes in, but the actual way that the character work reveals itself over the course of the hour-long story, and how that changes Skoll over the course of the story, and the sort of really small interactions that he has with the Sixth Doctor and his other Sontaran compatriots over the course of this hour-long story, played by John Culshaw and Christopher Ryan. It's some really good and effective character work. Charlie gets a little subplot as well, where she is imprisoned with one of these invisible bird creatures. However, it's now visible because the Sontarans have been doing experiments on these peaceful life forms, and she gets this nice little arc where she's uncovering some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. She's learning some more elements to the mystery, whilst also trying to prove to the Doctor that she's not as helpless as the Doctor seems to think that she is. Like I said, she spends this story trying to hide her power level. I don't know too much about the Charlie Pollard and Sixth Doctor adventures from Big Finish, but the way it's handled here, it acknowledges the canon without bogging the story down in it. It doesn't try and address it or be a vital chapter for those like me who are not really initiated in the broader canon of Big Finish, particularly the Sixth Doctor, the Sixth Doctor and the Eighth Doctor canon of Big Finish. But yeah, like I said, the cast are really, really strong. John Culshaw makes a really great Sontaran as well, clearly paying inspiration to Kevin Lindsay's Lynx from the 1970s, from the Time Warrior, and also Steyr from the Sontaran Experiment. It's a really well-balanced story overall, with some great music. I particularly really liked the scene transition music as well, not just the Sontar Ha bit. Joe Kramer, who did the music for this, did a really good job with Born to Die. Tegan Byrne, I think this is actually one of her very first scripted stories for Big Finish. She's done some acting work in Beyond Bannerman Road and The War Doctor Begins, but I think this might be one of her very first audio adventures that she wrote for Big Finish Productions, and it's a really, really good one. Great character work. Great performances across the board as well, and I think that if you're a big fan of Sontarans as villains, then this is a really, really good release to pick up, because it dives into the Sontaran hierarchy and some potential and some premises and some concepts that I don't really think have been done with the Sontarans and the Rutans before in expanded media. It's really good. It's a really thoughtful story. It crams an awful lot into just an hour, but it's time that's really well spent. It's structured incredibly well. It doesn't feel with the exception of Charlie's subplot, it doesn't really feel like anything's not getting the time it deserves. And I'm aware of how I didn't realize how distracted I would be by having Theo just laying on top of me. I don't know if you folks can see, but yeah, he's been laid here he's been here this entire time. Hey, Theo. Hey, you right? He's purring. Ooh. He's purring so hard right now. Hey, buddy. Sontar. Nice to have more people playing Sontarans than just Dan Starkey. Not that he's bad, but it's nice to have variety. I agree. Dan Starkey seems to have monopolized the role of the Sontarans in Big Finish, but he does do a really, really good job. It's great that he's able to do so much, like he's able to imbue so much variety and characters. And I do think outside of his performances as Strax in the Paternoster Gang stories, this particular story where he's playing Skull, this low-ranking, pretty naive, like fresh out of the chemical vats Sontaran, is a really, really good one. But like I said, Christopher Ryan is great. You're just reminded of how great a performance he gave in 2008 in the Series 4 two-parter. So yeah, Theo must be a Rutan. Yes, he's here to distract me for the glory of the Rutan Empire. While I think the Battle of Giant's Causeway was a bit of a shaky start, Children of the Future and Born to Die have been really, really strong releases, detailing different aspects of the Sontaran versus Rutan war, the conflict. Born to Die, in particular, goes into some really, really original concepts that I don't really think have been done in expanded media before, and they're done really, really effectively here. Really, really appreciated this release. It's really, really strong. Check it out if you haven't already, and like I said, these ones are pretty, like, effectively standalone. The only prerequisite for Born to Die is that Charlie has met the Sontarans before and needs to keep that information from the Sixth Doctor. But like I said, it's a bit of like attention to detail for the canon for Big Finish without bogging this particular story down. It's really effectively handled. Born to Die is really good. Highly recommend it. Born to Die really exemplifies why the Sontarans are such great villains conceptually, especially in like the Doctor Who universe, where you have this like perfect mirror to the Doctor, where the Doctor is like super individualistic. He's an individual. He's for the most part a pacifist. But then you've got the Sontarans, who are all about like the collective, like war for the sake of war. They're all the same, more or less. Of course, they're played by different actors, but you know, in principle, they're meant to be identical clones born in vats of like millions and billions of them every few minutes. Just like conflict for the sake of itself. But because of that, they're not like the Daleks where they'll kill everything on sight, or the Cybermen who are all about survival. The Sontarans have a very unique code of ethics in the Doctor Who universe, which means that they can be allies. They can, like Skull in this story, undergo an arc over the course of this hour-long story, where the idea of like Sontaran civil war or Sontaran treachery is like, that's an alien concept to this species that's bred for war, that's born to die, and how they react to those concepts. Really, really interesting stuff. And Born to Die, despite it only being an hour long, you honestly could have got a 4-part like story out of this, like 4 half-hour parts. You could have doubled the length here, and you know, it's almost a shame to just like have all of these great ideas and concepts, just drop it in 1 hour and then go. But part of me also really, really respects that Tegan Byrne was able to do a script that was able to do that so effectively. You know, it's really good. I really highly recommend it.